And Sziky, you know, one of the downsides of playing from the losers bracket, especially when there's 2 races to practice for, is you don't know who you're facing off against. Whereas Bonyth, he knows, or he knew who he's going to face off against, so he's obviously practiced for both PvP and PvZ. And also, this is the first games of the day for Sziky. Now, I was trying to bring up Bonyth versus Sziky overall series history, because even though they've had close series, I feel like Bonyth kind of has dominated. So I'm looking at it right now.
He has, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm looking at it right now. Overall game or overall series from 2024 to 2022. Let's give those 3 years. It's like 10 and 2.
Henry Tovo be tipped 20 euros.
Okay.
That is a massive win rate. But a lot of the series have been 4-3, 2-1, 3-2, right? So like it can definitely go in Sziky's favor, but it looks like so far from recent results, Bonyth seems to be the favorite here.
Yeah, no, I mean, not a big surprise, man. It's Bonyth. Like, he's usually, I mean, if not the champ, like contender for champ very consistently, you know, in each season of BSL. So, but you know, just to be able to take a series off of Bonyth, especially as a Zerg, right? Like, Sziky's got to be feeling pretty good about that. You know, and I feel like you're saying, every single series that these two face off against each other, it's just so close. I mean, this is usually the, you know, how Sziky will get, you know, could get knocked out of BSL. It's probably falling to Bonyth and only Bonyth, like, quite a few times, you know. So yeah, I mean, we see the 4th place, 5th, 6th place consistency of Sziky. He's just right there. It's always you know, just fighting just outside top 3 place. So but yeah, man, he could definitely do it today.
Just like Oyaji from a couple seasons, we've been waiting for the breakout from Sziky. Not
Yep.
that 4th place is a bad showing, of course, but we're waiting for the season where he makes it all the way to the finals, because he's got the skill to do so. As you can see, basically from season 12 until now, I mean, every single season is essentially top 4. Meanwhile, Bonyth, kind of the same thing, except replace top 4 with top 2, because he
Yeah.
he basically enters BSL and he's just automatically in the finals every single season. And generally, when he makes it to the finals, he wins. You can see when he's made it to the finals, champion 5 times, 2nd place twice.
Yep, and only 3rd place once. Like, kind of incredible consistency there from Bonyth. Yeah.
He's the hero of the hero. I'm talking about ASL hero of BSL, in the sense that once he enters the tournament, instead of, you know, just directly saying like, okay, this guy's a top 4 guy, this guy's a top 2 guy. I mean, he's always the guy to beat. But every single season, BSL gets stronger and stronger. I mean, now that Mihu's in the tournament, he like doesn't lose the finals. John Hoon has increased his skill quite a bit. Like, he went to the finals of ACS, if I remember that correctly, or something along those lines. And then we haven't even talked about my favorite Protoss, which is Dawid. Always a contender to make it to the finals and potentially take it down. But we're still waiting for his season where he finally gets a championship. But we're going to have him play tomorrow versus John Hoon. That's going to be a PvP, and I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, John Hoon, you know, definitely another one of the big name Chinese Protosses that have, you know, really popped out and made a show for himself in the last 4 seasons of BSL. But yeah, man, he's been a big name to beat. But I mean, if there's anyone, you know, really who represents the foreign community, you know, that's really strong at this point, it's Dawid, man. Like, he is just such an incredible competitor. He's really the player putting in, it feels like, the most work at the moment, and it shows in his play. And he's, you know, just always a big, consistent player to win it recently. Yeah, but looks like map's gonna be Radeon. Okay.
Yep, so our
good.
players are ready. Let's get into game 1. That win rate coming in here, maybe Machine 1-6 overall CVP. So looking like it's already a Bonyth victory. Let's see if he can abuse that map advantage to his favor and get a game 1 win. Okay, in the top right, our Protoss, it is the one and only. It's Bonyth.
And in the bottom right, spawning is the blue Zerg. It's Sziky. You know, until you pointed out that win rate, I really didn't, even think this, anything of it. Like, I don't think this is necessarily like a big Protoss favored map for any reason that I can kind of think of. It doesn't seem to be that, strong for any reason for Protoss. It must just be like how the results have been this season.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where that 1 in 6 statistic comes from, because I'm looking it up on Wikipedia right now, and not very many games played, at least in tournaments on this map, but it is like a 19 and 22 overall, which means it's only a 46% win rate for Zerg, which is kind of unusual, but also take it with a grain of salt because that's not that many games played, and it's ASL players, and ASL players are just crazy, right? So not sure exactly how balanced it is, but still, even ASL Zergs are not doing their typical 55% win rate versus Protoss or something along those lines.
So we're gonna get the first scout here for Bonyth, and this is a hatch first, so Bonyth can kind of fake some cannon pressure here, which would be a little annoying for some drone pulls, but I actually kind of like Sziky's positioning, because I think this 11 hatchery build is just optimal versus 9 gate openers. He should have Zerglings just in time to be able to basically defend this Zealot, and because there is quite a bit of rush distance vertically on this map for this matchup, it's going to take that Zealot a long time to get there.
Yep, so this looks like a good opening for Sziky so far. And that probe has taken a decent amount of damage. But look at that. Even though it isn't getting much damage done onto the drone, it's bugging out those 2 drones. One of them's not mining. Okay, there you go. It does get that fixed. And we've got the first... Oh, no way! I didn't even notice that he had dealt that much damage. He sniped the drone!
Yeah, that was... that's really unfortunate. You obviously never want to lose a drone to a probe. So... yeah, that's unfortunate. Pool was also delayed because of the probe as well, so Sziky kind of sitting on 3 larvae a little longer than he maybe would have wanted to, but doing a good job with this drone, just kind of delaying the arrival time of that Zealot, and might actually be using it to take his own 3rd base now.
3rd base is going to be at the top right side. I thought he may try and take the bottom middle base, but not going to be the case, and Bonyth has gotten into the sweet spot with the Zealot in the probe. By the way, that probe's shooting through the minerals because that's how zero range works in Broodwar somehow. Look at the probe Zealot combo. Already 2 lings are gone, make that 3 lings are gone, and the probe could just leave if he wants. Instead, he wants to snipe another drone!
And one of these other drones is weak too, remember? One of the ones in the center. I thought he was going to click it. I know him, Bonyth, he knows it's there. Oh, man.
Oh, and look at this. He doesn't even take damage to the 2 lings that were snuck out from the natural. So this is a disaster for Sziky. He's, lost 3 drones already?
He didn't start the 3rd base either. So,
oh, no.
Yeah, it's not looking good. He's kind of stuck in between builds here. Does get that 3rd hatchery down. But yeah, this is rough. I was just talking about how, due to the rush distance, this should be easier to hold. But Bonyth really just doing what he needed to do to delay that pool and delay the Zergling timing.
Yeah, everything going wrong for Sziky. Probe comes in here, and he's going to see that, like you said, the 3rd hatch wasn't even started. He's going to be feeling like he's just miles ahead of Zerg, and he is. And also, by confirming this 3rd hatch, even though he doesn't get into the main, he's kind of eliminated probably a Hydra all-in. So he knows that Sziky's just going to try and play out of it, which is exactly what he's doing, because Lair's coming in. And Protoss is going to be feeling really good about his opening position.
Yeah, I think if you're Protoss, it's always ideal for the Zerg to basically take the expansion towards you, right? Like, it's just going to be closer to you and more difficult for the Zerg to defend. So yeah, I'm a little worried for Zyky's third base placement at this point, given that he's taken some damage early on.
Yeah, so the way Sziky can get back into this game is he needs to shut down these zealots. He missed them, unfortunately, so that doesn't happen. And that means, well, now his second way back into this game is to somehow get Mutalisk out and try and get some probe kills. But the Corsair is so far along. There's a gap, and speed just kicked in. Okay, there we go. Are we going in the main? We are, and there's no cannon in here. This is 7 lings. This could deal so much damage, but he's going to lose his hatchery. So, like, yes, you're in the main killing probes, but you lost your hatch. I don't...
Yeah.
Is that an even trade?
No, and he's still got to deal with the zealots at the third. It's not like they just went away. I mean, he has built enough Zerglings now, but once again, that's no third base, and those aren't additional drones. Bonyth probably doesn't even need to move out with his Corsair here. He should just build a cannon in the main and sit. The damage is already done.
Yeah, this looks like it's all. It looks like it's gonna. I guess maybe not an all-in, because we still had to build the lings to deal with these zealots. But like you were saying, he's lost so many potential drones building so many lings. Now he's going hydras. I don't know what this is. Like, this looks like, or it looked like it was going to be Spire, but now that the hydras are out, I'm starting to think this could be like a fake Spire into Lurker bust because of how many lings he has. You know, lings can soak up a decent amount of shots if there's only a couple of cannons, and it can be comboed well with Lurkers, but this is just such a big deficit. I don't know how you come back as Sziky.
Yeah, I don't know if you can at this point. I mean, the Corsair is going to be able to basically confirm whatever it is, whether it's Muta, whether it's, you know, the Lurker timing, which you might not be wrong about. I don't know. It's only 2 hydras, so that's a little odd too. Yeah, I don't know. It looks like Sziky gonna just try to take a third base and go from here.
He's gonna try and play out of it. I'm shocked that he's gonna try and play out of it. But I mean, what really else can you do? This lings like Saul all the cannons. You're not gonna be able to all in it and win. It doesn't look like he rushed Lurkers, so what are you going to do? Ling all in plus mutas into 4 cannons? That's never going to work. So I guess your only actual option is to try and take the third base, but he was supply blocked. He's technically supply blocked again now. It's just, it's not getting any better is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, it's really not. And I don't know. This might just be Sziky making a bunch of mutas and trying to hit a timing, and then just kind of, I don't know how you can recover from here.
Yeah, he's trying to. Okay, I thought he was trying to drone up, but then I see there's only 3 drones at the natural, and instead he is just going to build mass mutas and try and hit a timing. I guess, like you said, the Corsair count isn't, you know, really high. It's at 3, but what is high is there's a high cannon count at both the natural and the main, so despite there not being many Corsairs, you can't attack either place.
I think the natural mineral line is the most susceptible. Like, maybe if he went out and around and came back from behind the mineral line. Oh, he does get a Templar! Oh, nope, not quite. Does force an Archon to morph, though. I mean, he's got a good amount of damage on it.
That cannon from downtown, killing that Mutalisk. He lost a decent chunk of Scourge there, and he lost the Muta, but Protoss did lose a Templar, so I guess that was a somewhat worthwhile trade. We still have more Mutas being built from Sziky. He's like mega all-in with his. I saw a DT out. I think if the DT sneaks out and just sits at the third base and waits for the drone transfer, I think the game's over. I think it just is immediate GG if that happens. We'll see if that's actually unfolds. Corsair's trying to hold the line at the natural. Like you said, this is, I guess, the only weak point, but it's really not even that weak of a point.
Yeah, not anymore. I mean, Bonyth was doing a great job staying on top of his Corsair production, so he didn't really allow an opening. And GG is called there. So Bonyth taking a very convincing second win there.
Yep, literally just over from the Zealot and Probe. 3 drone kills. Killed 3 lings also. Yes, technically, the Zealots that moved out, the 4 that went and killed the third base is what actually did him in, but It was all set up by that Zealot probe. And I mean, you even said Sziky had a good opener. The 11 hatch, 10 pool, everything looked good, but just nothing went well for him.
Yeah, it really was just kind of unfortunate from the start. You know, first game jitters kind of a thing. So, you know, I think he's not going to beat himself up too much about it. It was kind of, you know, at least he threw out like a hatchery first opener to start, maybe, you know, just to kind of give Bonyth some different info. And I hope he does more of like a standard Sziky opener, which would be like a 9 pool or like an overpool for game 2 here. So
I was expecting the overpool because, like you said, that seems to be like his go-to opener. But speaking,
it's just well-rounded. Yeah,
it seems pretty good versus everything. But speaking of go-tos, we're going into Vermeer now. I haven't seen the stats for Vermeer, but if it's a 15% win rate versus Zerg, I'm gonna need to talk to whoever's coming up with these stats because somebody's rigging the stats. This is one of the best maps for Zerg by far.
Absolutely. This would be my go-to pick in any tournament at the moment, man. Of all the maps, I think Vermeer is just incredible for Zerg vs Protoss. And, you know, it's kind of interesting for Sziky specifically because he's actually the style of Zerg like Larva that isn't afraid to just take another natural as his third base and then turtle into the fourth, which is a cool style you can see on this map. But yeah, looks like both our players are ready to go, so let's go ahead and get into game number 2 here. Sziky versus Bonyth on Vermeer. And spawning, top left side of Vermeer. As the blue Zerg, we have Sziky.
And across from that, we have in the bottom right, Mr. Bonyth. And that larva style that you're talking about, that's my favorite style to watch, man. Because when you have someone like with the ability of larva, he makes it look like Zerg can't lose. If he's able to get to that type of play. So I do hope we get to see Sziky play that, because the amount of units that Zerg can build on like 4 bases, 5 bases, you know, 6, 7, 8 bases, because that's how many bases you can actually get on Vermeer, is unbelievable.
You want to know the key to that larva style third base taking? You'll always see the Zergs get spores. And that's something that gets overlooked a lot, but when you have a spore outside that third base location, observers can't even get close. You're not really able to get like an accurate like position or count of the lurkers, so like storming them is like more difficult, right? Like spores are, I mean, really annoying for Protoss, actually.
One of the things that is weak about the split map style that you're talking about is if you do drone too hard and you like try and take a 4th base, all of a sudden like 8 gate, 9 gate Reaver all-ins are insane, because how do you engage into that? But for whatever reason, Protoss players just don't do that. So like, I don't think that would really ever be a threat to Sziky if he does go for it. But I do wonder when players do make moves like that. I'm like, like, don't you just die to Reavers? But Protoss players don't do that, so I could be wrong.
So we have Bonyth moving in with the Probe Scout to the natural here. Yeah, that 8-gate Reaver style, it is very scary, for sure. Like, I don't know why you don't see it really more often, especially once you know like where your the Zerg's third base location is.
Oh, that drone. Oh, it's going bottom right. I was like, oh, it's going across the map, but it's going across the map towards Bonyth's base. And that means that we're not going to have the split map. Instead, he's going to build his third hatch at the close third base. And Sziky this time, what was this, a 2? Okay, it was a 250 gas. I think this is just the standard follow-up after an overpool.
Yep, it is cross map. Looks like, you know, he hasn't committed a whole lot of Zerglings. We're not even seeing him move up the ramp. Bonyth already in position to deal with any possible run-bys. So, very standard here from both players.
Oh, This is a point in the game where it is imperative you keep that probe alive as long as possible. Just because you see Zerg mining gas and you think it's going to be lair, it does not mean that it has to be lair. The Bonyth needs to try and keep this alive as long as possible, but instead it falls at literally
Honestly,
the worst moment.
Yeah, you see 4 more lings like that, you're concerned as Protoss. I don't know. I mean, honestly, Sziky might be committed with something here.
He could. I think that this was just a lair follow-up, but if this was someone like Eon Zerg or Shine or something, definitely this could be some type of crazy 3-base all-in, which is why you see Protoss sending out another probe. And unfortunately, dude, this is Vermeer. You don't really have a lot of vision here. Those links almost kill it as it comes up the top side of the ramp, and because of how important it is to get this probe across the map, you can see Protoss is moving out, but there's no cannon set up, so Ziggy's like, all right, I'll come in, sure, let me get in here.
Wow, yeah, he's gonna get a little bit of harass in the main and sees these zealots moving out well in time to make additional Zerglings. Sees the core already, Bonyth having to pull some probes from the mineral line, and actually Bonyth completely backing out here, and it ends up being the right call. He ended up forcing additional Zerglings to be made.
This is basically essentially what Mihu was doing, you know, on the Dark Origin game, where despite losing his vultures, he still acted like he was going to attack, made Bonyth build additional units that he didn't want, and instead it's in the reverse. Bonyth moves out, forces Sziky to make all these lings, and I don't think they're going to be very useful because there's a cannon coming up and 4 zealots. Like, this isn't going to do anything.
Might get a little damage on the forge and the gateway, which if he has hydras or something, nope, not even going to do that. So, yeah, not going to get much done.
I don't think these lings have killed a single probe, so this has been immaculate defense from Bonyth so far. Also didn't overreact, like he didn't build 3 cannons or something crazy, and he didn't get his probe in, so you know there could have been hydras like you said, but this has been the perfect read so far. He's going to have a Corsair out and be able to get it across the map also to scout exactly what Ziky's doing.
Does get a probe finally and force some more additional lost mining, but yeah, this is probably near the end of this Zergling's life. Does see the Citadel.
Yeah, but you know, it's not
it's
anything
nothing
massive.
unusual.
I mean, you're just expecting this, I guess. What would be unusual if he put down a Robo. Like, if he put that down, like, after showing Citadel, now that would be crazy. But, goodbye. I guess he does see that the Stargate was continuing to blink, so he knows that it's not just one Corsair. Now, this I don't think is Muta's. Okay, it's drones, but what I mean is I think it's going to be Scourge. And we can see him also starting to ramp up his hatchery count, going into 5.
Yep, is at the 5 hatchery count, and it is pure drone, as it should be. I mean, that was a lot of Zerglings to make early, so he's, you know, forced to kind of recover instead of pressure with any early muta, and that's fine.
I think that Overlord that just died was the only Overlord that has died, so Sziky really losing the minimum here. If you can only lose 1 Overlord, I mean, that's just pretty much expected. So not a lot of damage done so far. Well, okay. Scourge didn't really scout much. I guess saw the gateways coming in, but again, nothing unusual. It's only 3 gate. We saw this, I think, last week or the week before, where also Bonyth went like a 3 gate, which is not necessarily super unusual, but you know, at pro level, don't you see 4 gate more often than 3 gate, or am I tripping here?
Yeah, I think you do see 4 gate more often than 3 gate. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's only 3 gate at this point. Maybe he's just looking to take a 3rd base or something like that a little earlier.
I guess these gateways are maybe a little bit faster than I remember. Okay, well, that's surprising. Remember, his Citadel was done for a while. Maybe he missed it, but either way, we've got Zealots moving out, and the mutas are like, you're doing what? You ain't moving out, as they just immediately intercept those Zealots.
Yeah, he does have Corsairs in position, but I mean, this is what Sziky, in my opinion, is known for. These mid-game skirmishes, he's not afraid to make Muta and remake Muta versus Corsairs. He gets very heavy with his Scourge use, too, just because he uses his 6 hatchery like so much faster than most other Zergs, I feel like.
Well, the Mutas moved out of position for a moment. I don't even know where they are, but they're definitely not with the Lings. And the Zealots acted like they were going to move out, but instead, kind of just posturing around. I think what Sziky's looking for is to see the Corsairs out of position and immediately counterattack. And there he goes. Exactly. There, look, what is that cannon? That's out of no man's land. Oh, he's going to hit the natural.
Yeah, with all the Lings, too. Looks like he's just going to go ahead and dive on the cannons. Bonyth is retreating back with the Zealots even, and the Corsair. So likely trying to jump on top of these Mutas here. And Sziky just using the Mutas once again to pull him out of position.
I guess Bonyth thought there was more on the ground because he sent his Zealots back, but if he knew it was just those Lings, he would not have turned around. Maybe could have killed either the natural or the third base, because there are 8 Corsairs here. Like, there's no air army that will ever beat 8 Corsairs at this point in the game. And unbeknownst to Sziky, Bonyth, okay, now he's going to fix those pros, but
yeah, I saw that.
What looked like didn't do a lot of damage actually did lose a lot of mining time for Bonyth.
Yeah, it wasn't negligible for sure. And the Hydra count is, I mean, large enough now that I'm not too concerned for Sziky surviving these 10 Zealots.
I think you're right. I think Sziky is fine right now. The Protoss is trying to get a couple cannons up to make sure that they don't die to any follow-up attack, but you know, only a 25 supply gap right now. Drone count
diving on the Evo.
Drone count looks okay right there, right? So I feel like both players are just gonna like trade a little here, and we're gonna go into a mid game. Oh, maybe not, because I forgot these Corsairs. There's 8 Corsairs here, so they can rack up a lot of Overlord kills real quick.
Yeah, you'll see this kind of at this point for most Zergs. Basically, once the Corsair count gets that high, he's got to make Scourge and start picking them off, or he just can't move out. Like, you just cannot. If he moved across the map with his Hydra at the moment, he would lose all of his Overlords.
Killed the Overlord. He killed the only 2 Overlords at the third base. Now, Bonyth did see that his drone got sniped by a DT, so that's why you see him immediately send some Overlords to the third base. Oh, there's a clump over here that is completely open. Goodbye, and it's starting to get real ugly now. I know it hasn't been reflected in supply just yet, but this is like the 4th or 5th Overlord that has been killed. That is a lot of Overlords to have to... Oh my gosh, that's a lot of Overlords to build, but also that's a lot of drones pumped out in one cycle.
Yeah, Sziky definitely staying on top of his macro at the moment. Still no third base started yet from Bonyth, but I think this might be just like an 8-gate 2-base timing here from Bonyth.
It does look like it's going to be... I think you could still expand, obviously just go 8-gate expand. The Zealots are not that high in number. These Hydras are doing a good job. Look at how fast the 1-1 upgrades are, though, for Protoss. So that's really nice for him. And DT is going to try and shut down this base by himself with the help of a couple of Corsairs.
Yeah, not quite going to be able to do it, though, so good defense here from Sziky. We got 5 Templar at Bonyth's natural here, just kind of stacking up. And it looks like those Zealots did clear out his third base at this point. So, yeah, likely going to be going for an expansion and probably a timing shortly, or at least posture.
That 4th base not being knocked down is a big win for Sziky. He's got massive eco with all those drones. He's got enough Hydras to defend any attack right now. Really does look like he's in a prime position. Bonyth still no third base right now. What looked like maybe like an 8-gate timing. He's floating so much money. I don't know if a timing will work anymore. And the Hydras have done a really good job to whittle down a lot of the Zealots.
Yeah, those are pretty soft Zealots for sure. They've definitely been weakened. Oh man, already 5 lurkers too. And I mean, with the amount of Vespene that Sziky's been able to stack up, it's just going to be a lot more lurkers here shortly.
This really does look like a good position for Sziky. I'm waiting for his supply to explode any moment now. He's still on 7 hatches. Meanwhile, Bonyth has his third base going up. He's still up 30 supply. His Templars, I didn't notice if they had the amulet or not, but they have over 150 energy. That means he's going to have 10 storms available. That is quite a lot, to say the least.
Bonyth is moving in here, though. He's finally does see the lurkers. We're seeing the Dragoons start to posture in. Here come the Templar. Oh, both observers get picked off, though. And actually, I think that went way better for Sziky overall.
That's all he needed to do. So Cancer to deal with lurkers when your only detection is observers. Yes, you have storms, but this is Vermeer where they sit on high ground. Unless you're going to suicide your army into high ground to just try and guess where the lurker spines are coming from, you don't really have any answer to dealing with the lurkers. So instead he backs off and will set up to take a 4th base himself, which I think is the smart move.
Yeah, it's fine here. He doesn't really need to force the pressure at this point. But Sziky is, I mean, it's just also buying Sziky more time to set up these lurker lines, and we already see a lot of lurkers out of him.
Zerg already has +2 weapon. I'm gonna guess that Protoss either has +2 armor. Yeah, he has +2 armor. So basically even upgrades at this point. But whenever it does get into a situation like this where I see Zerg has 4 bases, they have pretty even upgrades, they're even in supply, and they've got Hive coming in a second, I feel like Protoss is in a bit of trouble, but maybe he can make something happen. He's going towards the 3rd base now. There's not that many lurkers actually at top,
and they're not
right.
very far forward, so I mean, part of this is going to be a little vulnerable here. Sziky going to have to reposition some lurkers to try to flank this or something.
Okay,
here we go.
No, he's not going to attack into it. I think that's pretty smart. I mean, this type of choke can be really good for you with the storms, but also if you get hit by like a massive surround, you're in big time trouble. So he's going to back off once again, and we see finally for the first time this game, Zerg is up supply 167 to 159, and there's just so many lurkers like you were saying, and they're going to be going down to bottom left, setting up for a 5th base.
Yeah, he is. I mean, this is ideal, right? He can kind of stall forever with those 12 Hydras just by morphing eggs on the ramp. But Zerg needs to be careful, too. This is about the point where a lot of Zergs will get overconfident, and if you spread yourself too thin, this is a lot of units, right? Bottom left, just for a hatchery that's not even built. And now we have a hole. And now, so Sziky's going to have to reposition units from his 3rd here to this 4th very quickly. But he does so.
Oh, the storms there are so good. They hit a lot of lurkers, they hit a lot of lings and hydras. Zerg is still up in supply, but Zerg has not hit that critical Hive power spike right now. But it is starting to get a little troublesome for Protoss, because even though they're on 4 bases, like you were saying about the lurkers bottom left, I mean, I see 6 Zealots and Templars at the 3rd base. I see also the same amount at the 4th base. So that's 24 supply. Not in the army, so you just subtract that out for Bonyth, and that means any engagement that he has in the center map. I mean, look at that army. It's pretty tiny. Like, where are the zealots? Does he have 3 zealots? Is that it?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's probably half his army supply just sitting at the 3rd, sitting at the natural, sitting at the 4th. So he's gonna need everything he can to kind of handle Sziky here. Sziky getting a nice run by, catching a big Templar pickup. That's huge.
Yep, that Templar gets taken down. There's still a lot of Templars left over. So Protoss is not in any danger, but I'm waiting for the big engagement. Okay, +1 weapon on the Lings with also +1 armor coming in. Sziky really crushing it, and we're going to see the full power of Zerg momentarily, because he's now starting to get macro hatches up like at mid left. In his main, I'm sure he'll start putting down macro hatches pretty soon.
Nidus is to bottom left too, so he's going to be able to transfer drones like very quickly. Oh, another Templar pickup. This is where Sziky is just starting to be really optimal, right? Anytime you're trading minimals for gas units, you always want to take that trade. And despite, you know, Zerg basically getting range attack upgrades early on here, the Zerglings are still just going to trade more efficiently, and Sziky's starting to focus more on getting those melee upgrades. And
I'm trying to hold top right with a single DT and probe, but he's going to have to send his entire army up here just to make sure that he can get this base safely taken. And that does actually open him up to counterattacks, but I don't see any counter. And in fact, speaking of counterattacks, he didn't even necessarily deal with all those lings, and instead he's going to be on the offensive. But defilers have popped out, but they haven't consumed anything. And remember, I was talking about the power of Reavers into, you know, Lurkers and Sunkens, and he's going to actually try and make an 18-minute Reaver push happen into Hive.
Yeah, I mean, Reavers are very scary, especially when sieging up against, you know, Lurkers like this. The other nice bonus here is basically Reavers don't care about Defilers either, so he's kind of got the optimal composition, but at the same time chooses not to push the issue anymore, and it looks like we're seeing Bonyth back up.
Does back up, but he's like backing up into more and more Lurkers. I don't know how this will actually unfold for him, because once again this army just looks really tiny. Yes, he has Storms, he has Archons, but we're talking a maxed out Zerg. I feel like at any point Zerg could have come in here and potentially just crush this army. Instead, the Storms have done work right here, get a lot of Lurker kills, get a lot of Ling kills.
Here we go, a lot of Hydras coming in here from the 4th base. Probably trying to snipe those Reavers down, but actually unable to do so. And those are huge Scarab connects for Bonyth there.
Really big hits. But those Lings at top right, they shut down the probe trying to take that base. He still hasn't gotten it up and running. Now Lings that were heading off to the side come in here to try and focus down that probe. Look at that. Trying to desperately get it.
Oh, it's going to be close. Oh, just not able to do so.
Where's the ketchup, man? We're waiting. Oh, ketchup time.
Oh, we want Cheeto dust first, then ketchup.
Gotta get the Cheeto dust in there. Oh my gosh. That's a lot of Reavers, but there's nothing to support these drones over on the left side. And actually, this is a massive win for Bonyth. Look at the... Yes, a Lurker gets in, technically, but one Lurker isn't going to shut down the base for that much... Well, he gets all 3 eggs and the Nidus.
Yeah, this is a dead base now. Suddenly, Sziky basically down to 4 bases. This is really not good for him. He does, fortunately, build 4 Hydras, and that should... and actually gets the Scourge off to kill that shuttle. But man, that was a lot of drone kills.
That was a lot of drone kills, but that was still a decent trade for Sziky because he killed both Reavers and the shuttle for just a couple of Scourge. Okay, does he have another shuttle loaded up with Reavers? The way he's moving it makes me think that he does.
Yeah, I guess so. He's just doing a good job using these Reavers for these mid-game pushes.
Reaver. Oh, that Lurker was never taken down on the left side, so it's just doing so much damage. Here's the Plague that I was waiting for.
Wow.
There's not that much here, but he's not going to commit. He doesn't know that there's not that much here.
Yeah, Ziky's just so spread. Like, he's got so many units sitting in his 4th base at bottom left now. I mean, that's just kind of the problem of Zerg. That's why there's so many units everywhere around the map. It's really difficult to kind of position them all correctly.
Doing a good job defending all the bases, but this army, even though it doesn't look like it's that big from Protoss, every unit here is like extremely strong. There's a lot of goons. Oh, almost catches the probes.
Does get a couple at least, but
he's gonna get these coming. The second. See you later.
Oh, nice pickup, and I think he's even gonna drop. I think top right main, so that could be big too. Wow, look at that. That's got to be 12 Lurkers and Defilers now moving around the map. So Sziky definitely looking to start putting some pressure on.
Zerg's econ is crazy. He's got 7 bases, bottom left, top middle, and the 4 that are at the top left quadrant. Another Reaver drop down to the bottom, and again, we're going to have an engagement here. Dark Swarm is doing a really good job. Is that another shuttle with Whiskey? So he's got 4 Reavers here. He's got the Reavers at the bottom, while also microing the Reavers here in the center of the map.
Yeah, that's huge. Looks like at least this Reaver's going to fall. So now Sziky will be able to start mining the space bottom left again. And we're seeing Bonyth pivot to attack bottom left. Oh, is he going to get the shuttle? Oh man, I thought he had it.
Oh, yeah.
Does get it.
But still one Reaver unloads. Almost dies, though. Like, it's pretty low on health. These Archons don't care about Lurkers, though. He's just going to run his way through.
Nope.
And Sziky
big storm.
needs to get some reinforcements over here.
Yeah, we are seeing some blue come through, and actually looks like that Nidus was remade, so Bonyth kind of backing up for a second. That could be an issue. If he gets a Dark Swarm on those Lurkers, that could be big.
Oh, the Lurkers, they're gonna not do that much damage. The Reaver is just doing so much, takes out so many Lings. Oh, Zyky's mine out in his main, natural and third base. I mean, he still has a lot of bases to fall back on for Econ, but that could come into play. Supplies are still really close. Oh, the Reaver shot doesn't get this. Oh, it gets the Defiler, but the Plague gets off critically.
Yeah, that was a big Plague, too. All 3 Lurkers and Shuttle. Dark Swarm goes down. If he clicks those Reavers, they might die.
I think this is a dead base, man. I think all the reinforcements here is just way too much because, like you said, Zerg is spread thin, defending all these bases. Also, you were talking about having units potentially loaded up to go for a drop, but I haven't seen a drop come in at all. Like, yeah, he's just coming in like single file, and
yeah,
the Reaver doesn't care if you come in single file. Like, he's just gonna melt everything.
Yeah, it's kind of been the story, man. Bonyth's been being so diligent about keeping Reavers with his main force, and we're seeing how that's paying off. It's just so much added damage, so much range. Like, he kind of forces Sziky to take bad fights just to go out and snipe them, you know?
19 kill Reaver, 22 kill Reaver with 1 health remaining. Now make that 25, and there's 2 more Reavers on the high ground.
Oh, I can't believe this matchup. GG is called there. Man, that was such a close one, dude. That was... I thought Sziky had him, to be honest with you, especially once like bottom left was taken there, but Bonyth just doing what he does with Reavers, man. He's so good.
I agree. Once he got all those bases, especially bottom left, I thought that's it, man. How are you going to be able to deal with all the econ that Zerg has? Like, Zerg didn't take any damage to their drone line until like the 20-minute mark, and I mean, what more do you need as Zerg at that point? I mean, I agree with the sentiment of Sziky. He was even in upgrades, he was up in bases, he was up in tech, he was up in supply. It's like, what more do I need? I even denied top right for a decent amount of time. It's crazy. But those Reavers, damn, they were doing work.
Yeah, man, they were doing so much work, and I mean, you can't discount what Bonyth's doing, right? Like, just the focus on those Reavers, the additional work that takes. There's a big reason why you're not seeing that at a regular like level, right? It's so painful to be 30 minutes into a game on 4 bases, managing all your macro, and then just like, oh yeah, I have to make sure this shuttle drops his Reavers just perfectly and focuses this unit. And it's like, oh man, it's crazy. When you could just make more Templar, right? Press T a couple more times. But yeah, man, he's just so good at making it work, and it works so well against Defilers. So yeah, he's very good about getting those in time for Defilers.
Well, Zyky's going to have to come up with something here. I thought he had all he needed on the Premier game, but now he's on his last leg, and it's going to be Dark Origin, which has been historically a good Zerg map. But my opinion of this map is, once it gets mid-game, if Protoss controls the center, it doesn't matter if you have your side of the map as Zerg. They're just going to storm your 4th base over and over. And in my opinion, late-game Protoss is better than late-game Zerg, especially if you just split in camp. So, Sziky, I don't know, man. I feel like you got to kill Protoss before he gets his 3rd base, because I feel like once it goes to late game, you're going to be in trouble. So let's see if Sziky can do it as we get into Game 3 between Bonyth and Sziky on Dark Origin.
And spawning top left as the blue Zerg down 0-2. It is Sziky.
Yep, and in the bottom right, 1 game away, we've got Mr. Bonyth. So we haven't seen...
I want to make a counter argument to what you were saying. I think just because of this map in particular, if we get into the exact same game state that we had last mid-game, where Sziky had the 12 plus lurkers, you can very easily contain a Protoss to 3 base on this map. Like, sure, there's that backed entrance that nobody uses, and Protoss could technically maybe try to secure a base through there, but it's very difficult to do so. I don't know, man. Like, I think this is going to be a much better map for Sziky this game.
Okay, well, just as something to point out, Bonyth picked this, just FYI. So he must have something planned.
Funny.
The way this pylon was positioned, I thought he might be double 2-gating his entrance, but not the case, and we do have the typical overpool.
I got a question for you. I think last time I was casting Sziky, it wasn't with you, but what do you think of this pool placement?
I knew you were going to ask that, and you know, I have no opinion on this pool because mineral boosting is like a new type of thing for Terrans, and I don't know any of the boostings for Zerg. One thing I will say is, okay, well, first off, I want to make sure that this drone doesn't die, or probe doesn't die. Oh my gosh, you don't see that every
Sziky
day.
drone.
A Bonyth probe getting taken out. What I was going to say is, if you move the pool, so you're talking about the pool, if you move it one more to the right?
It's to the right and down, yes. It boosts
Right
the top
and
mineral
down.
patch. Yeah, so it basically has to be touching that hatchery to the right. Yeah, like right there.
Okay, so I guess I got a question. If you do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If zealots get into that particular side of the position, does it make it hard to engage into? Cause
it does. Yep, it absolutely does. Yep.
That's what I'm imagining. The reasoning is, if you think that zealots could be a nuisance in there, maybe that's the issue.
That was my deduction too, but it's so rare to open pool first and get a zealot in your main, like, that I think it's like a negligible risk. I'm not to say if a zealot didn't get in the main and you were fighting a zealot in a probe, yeah, that is not, like, where he has that pool placed is more ideal to defend that. But yeah, I don't know. That's the only solution I could come up with.
Yeah, I agree that I don't think you would expect to see zealots in your base at that point. But it is an interesting thing to think about, because boosting has clearly changed the game for people out there that don't boost. They have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you go and boost and then watch a replay of yourself not boosting, like, your stuff is just so much faster. And all of a sudden, there are timings that are available to you that didn't exist. I mean, I can't really emphasize it enough. You just have to go and try it yourself and be like, wow, this never used to work before, but now it does. Like getting a faster vulture out, trying to do some probe harassment. Or, you know, if you get a 9 pool out and it's like 5 seconds faster and you're playing versus somebody that doesn't boost and they mess up, and this is a Terran, by the way, and they like get a later racks, like all of a sudden you're facing 1 Marine on the ramp instead of 2, and you kill like 4 SCVs instead of 1. I mean, it's a huge deal, but you can only really know how big of a deal it is unless you experience it yourself.
Look at this, a little greed from Bonyth going core before cannon, but I guess he just realizes he's under no pressure. That's not that greedy.
Ooh, all in. Hydra all in. Well, I guess it's not all in because it looks like a decent drone count, but this is going to be one of the few times. This is going to be one of the few times where we actually get to see a Hydra opener.
From Sziky in particular, I've noticed it is rare for him to open like a 973, at least compared with most other Zergs that, you know, because you can transition out of this just fine. Like, it can just be a very standard opener, 5 Hydra, 5 to 7 Hydra pressure, backup drone, and you're fine. But yeah, we'll have to see how much he commits.
Zealot moved out, and
yeah, I don't know.
Well, he saved both of them. I thought he was going to lose both of them.
Yeah, that was maybe a tell that Bonyth is kind of expecting 973 a little bit. Like he was maybe just trying to pressure out to get some vision of Hydras or something.
Maybe. One thing to note is again, not a Zerg player here, or Protoss player, but that Overlord did go pretty deep at a point in the game where the course, like the Stargate would be blinking. I don't know if this is already a tell that Hydras could be coming, because now obviously this Overlord is never getting away, which means if it was a Spire opener, 100% of the time he's going to get at least 2 Overlord kills. But he is going to... Oh, look at this. He's trying to avoid the... Oh, does not avoid...
Oh. I mean, instant reaction, though, from Bonyth. That's crazy.
He already had a cannon preemptively building, and he had a probe in position to build more cannons. And like you said, he didn't even lose the Corsair either.
Yeah, that was just nasty how fast he pulled that Corsair out of the way. I mean, he's gonna lose his Forge here. The Forge definitely should be the focus. And who knows, like, this is scary enough that maybe Sziky might even just commit here.
Well, I think there's too many cannons to commit, but he did build more stuff. It's 5 cannons, though. I mean, 5 cannons is a lot, and the Corsair does see that more hatches are going down. But it is more Hydras, okay? They're technically being rallied from the natural, which is interesting, and the Corsair is missing that.
I don't think he's gonna go. I think he's very just happy with how this turned out, and he's gonna drone back up.
Well, he should. I mean, he got the gate and the forge, and he forced out 7 cannons. What more can you possibly want? And you still have 5 hatch production as a follow-up. He's not supply blocked either. Everything looks prime for him to just transition into a macro game, but instead, he built at least some Hydras at the 3rd base.
That's weird. And showing them where the Corsair was idle. Okay, yeah, he's just committing.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, if he has range with this, maybe there's a shot. But, I mean, either way, Bonyth sees it. Bonyth's reacting. We're seeing more cannons going down. He's probably getting ready for a probe pull with that Corsair on the mineral line at the Zerg's 3rd base. Because it's inevitable. Here we go.
Oh, he's got a pylon in the front trying to soak up some hit. Wow, those zealots die real quick. That probe
But
pull,
so did the Lings, so did the Hydras. I mean, he hasn't even touched the cannons yet. It's over. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna work. I was sitting there thinking, like, dude, that's 10 cannons. Does it matter how many Hydras you have? Like, I feel like 10 cannons should be enough.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big investment, but it's just how you have to play against this. So, I mean, with that was a lot of units bled off from Sziky. No question, if he wants to stay in this game, he's got a full reset, backup, and few things are going to need to go his way.
Well, he's fine. Like, he has a lair, he still has 5 hatch, he killed all the zealots. They can't immediately counterattack. Like, and he's got a good drone count. Like, if he does 1 cycle of drones, isn't he, like, saturated completely on all 3 of his bases? And he killed the upgrades, he killed the gates. I guess he doesn't know the gateway timings, but we know that those 3rd and 4th gateways just completed, so it's going to be a long ways away before Protoss can actually build an army.
Yeah, I guess you're right. This isn't actually looking as bad as I thought, especially with that Spire coming up here shortly. You know, the one thing that Bonyth definitely is not prepared to handle right now would be 5 Muta.
Corsair is going to kill that Overlord. And this time around, that is a lot of gateways. It is 8 gate. I saw a robo at the natural. And I wish we knew what that building was by the archive. Is that an observatory? Reaver? What is that?
Observatory. Okay.
And that's Dark Archon, by the way.
So it looks like he is anticipating Muta, at least.
Yeah, he's only shown 1 Corsair. So Zerg probably thinks that this is all he has. So Dark Archon's going to cover the bases of having 5 to 7 Corsairs by simply getting Maelstrom. And Sziky... I was trying to guess if those were mutas or not, but I don't think they are because it didn't look like he used that much gas.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was kind of wondering myself, and I don't think it is muta yet. Yeah, it just looks like more Hydra. The one thing is Zyky's Evo chamber was pretty delayed. So I don't think he's really going to be winning the upgrade battle, despite even picking off Protoss's Forge.
Corsair going to evac here, and we've got Protoss basically even in supply with Zerg. Zerg on 6 hatch production. His Evo upgrades should be matching Protoss's upgrades pretty soon. Well, okay, maybe not. I take that back because Protoss went double forward.
It's a lurker timing actually, which might be exactly what Sziky wants here. I mean, mutas would be scary, right? But the Dark Archon's already committed. Maybe lurker is the way to go here.
I think that's the only way that you can hold your 4th base here, because Protoss is going to have so much stuff. Protoss is across the bridges already, man. This is getting wild. There's a decent amount of storm also, not that many observers, but he committed so many
huge
hydras.
Storm, huge
and there's
storms.
not that many lurkers left over. It's just one. That's it. Okay, there's a couple at the top left.
Still, I mean, these hydras are so weak at this point, and Bonyth fully kind of pulled his units together here. He's in a good formation. I mean, he doesn't even need to attack. He could just take his own 3rd right now if he wanted to. But remember, the Corsair did scout out that 4th base, so he knows that's there.
There's no way he's going to let the 4th base survive. I think you got to knock that down while you can, while also expanding at the same time.
He's countering.
One thing I've noticed, well, I was about to say, one thing I've noticed about Sziky doesn't counter that much. He kind of just accepts that we're going to have a big fight. So if Bonyth commits to mid-left, I don't think he really needs to worry about losing his 3rd base, but he hasn't committed just yet.
If Bonyth commits to his natural right now, I think he's in trouble. Okay, it looks like
because then he'll be funneled into choke. And how do you stop it into Mass Storm plus Maelstrom? This is actually the best situation for Sziky, because Protoss is going to attack uphill into
it is. Yeah, I don't know. It looks to be going pretty well for Sziky here. He's got a force prepared to flank as well. Plenty of hydras behind. A couple of lurkers have fallen. But yeah, I think this is... Yeah, this is mostly over with. Bonyth's going to have to retreat.
And he needs to run. He's almost used all of his storm. Oh, that one has a storm. That one... Oh, there's a Maelstrom. There's a good storm. Does he have any... He has one more Maelstrom. Yeah, that was an overcommitment there, and he does lose a ton of stuff. So Sziky holds his 4th base, and that's, I feel like, all he really needed to do. Now, Protoss is going to get a 3rd base himself, but Zerg on 4 bases with 8 hatch production with good upgrades.
Yeah, this is kind of the point that I was talking about where I said Sziky, I think, would be favored. Like, if Sziky pushes out, holds the bridges leading to Bonyth's natural here, all he's got to do is focus on shutting down like that high ground 4th on top of that. And yeah, that's exactly what we're going to see here. Bonyth's not going to be able to push out here anytime soon.
Yeah, he's gonna have to loop around, try and avoid the army, and this is a rough situation. He's even in supply, but that's never good for Protoss. His army is not that strong anymore. It's mostly zealots. Like, oh my gosh! Speaking of strong, that was a strong Maelstrom. And look at the perfect storm. It covers literally every single Hydra that the Maelstrom hit, except for one.
That's crazy, man. I mean, that was really well done. Just taking advantage of that Dark Archon. I haven't seen a Muta, but it's still able to find so much damage there for Bonyth.
There's an interesting pylon at the bridges. Something to mess up the AI or be comboed with a cannon plus Storm would be really, really hard to deal with. But yeah. Protoss is acting like he's setting up for a 4th base. Does he have energy for more Maelstroms? I don't think he does. Good Storm right there takes down one of the Zealots. Or one of the Lurkers, I mean.
Yeah, doing a great job keeping those observers way back and safe as well. And yeah, now, I mean, this is always a tough spot for Zerg. If Protoss is able to secure this high ground 4th base, this is not a great map for Zerg to split.
Yeah, but see...
we got the Reaver.
This is what I was talking about, is you saw how Protoss killed off this like light contain, Sziky at no point made any move to go for a counterattack. Like, he's content with just facing off versus the army. Now, I'm not saying that that was not the correct move. I'm just pointing it out that that's what's consistently happening. Now, he fends off the army here, and now Protoss is in a little bit of trouble because he's struggling to get this 4th base.
Sure, yeah, he absolutely needs this 4th base to continue on. This is... I don't know, Zyky's just doing a great job, man. He's making plenty of lurkers, keeping them very spread out. Still has a force outside of Bonyth's natural. Well, we're starting to see some movement. Oh, here we go. 2 Reavers dropping in. Wow, big Scarab connects. Nice Storm as well. And slowly but surely, it looks like Bonyth able to pressure this one out.
Big connections with the Reaver, and again, Sziky sending some more stuff over here. There's not that many Zealots. That's a good Storm, and the Hydras ran into the Storm. Ooh. The Reaver at the bottom side, did one of them die? I'm not sure if one of them died or not. I missed it, but either way, it's high ground Protoss, and you're just not going to win versus high ground Protoss. So this attack did not work, and there is a pylon going up. So Sziky, he needs to send everything over here if he wants to make sure that this doesn't get up and running. At the same time, Protoss also needs to get everything over in here because this is a crucial part in the game. Behind the Sziky is not expanding, like he's just all in for base here.
Yeah, Sziky really needs this to fall. I mean, there's limited options if Bonyth's able to secure this 4th base. Big Storms, still more and more Sziky Hydras moving in. Nice pickup on that Templar, starting to focus down the Reavers. Lurkers coming in as well, but Sziky forced to back off yet again.
He held, and that means Protoss is going to get this 4th base up and running. Now, of course, Zerg's not out of it, but that was a key win for Bonyth there. He was up a considerable amount of supply. Now Sziky has brought it back to, you know, within 4 or 5. In Zyky's main, I don't think he had Hive coming. Oh, he already has it done. I take that back. Defiler mount even completed. So Dark Swarm and Plague going to be on the field pretty soon.
Upgrades probably going to start kicking up as well. We're seeing Sziky taking the top right base, so he's just kind of realized, oh wow, big lurker timing. He's actually just moving in with the units he had for the contain here, and does get some nice lurker spines off, but actually the Reaver coming in just in time, and he should be able to hold this.
Yeah, that was a nice move right there. But it is 7 lurkers, and they're okay. He does back off, thankfully. Don't want to lose 7 lurkers for free to Reavers. That was a smart move. And Zyky's taking top right, surprisingly, as opposed to bottom left.
Yeah, I guess no matter what, you're just going to end up having to fight at the bottom of this Protoss ramp, so you might as well just take the close base to defend it or something. I don't know. Either way, this is a lot of lurkers outside Protoss's 4th. Sziky gonna have to mine out that back mineral so he can connect his newly produced 5th base. And we're just seeing lurker Zergling. Like, not a ton of... I haven't seen Defiler yet. No, not a heavy amount of Hydralisk anywhere. And both players kind of just content to sit for the moment.
That one lurker could clear that building, which would make the game interesting because there would be an alternate attack pathway all the way into the main. Something that I did want to mention was Sziky still has control over the center of the map, which means he can start positioning a lurker outside that 4th mineral line and start killing probes, but he hasn't done that just yet.
Yeah, I was honestly wondering that myself. I mean, you almost should expect it as Protoss. Especially once Dark Swarm is available, you can just kind of Dark Swarm and put lurkers under that indefinitely.
Okay, well, I feel like I've seen this before, and that was on the... No way, is he going to carpet bomb, Overlord drop, something? He can't, right?
Yeah, no.
Where would it work? Is he going into the main?
That would be kind of the silliest drop path, like... Well, let me just go right past everything of theirs here, and let's drop in the middle of your base. Like,
I mean, he saw. Was it a fake drop, or it looked like he was trying to fake a drop, but Bonyth didn't even react. Like he literally, he didn't even send his natural rally point to his mate. He didn't even care.
He didn't even care, man. He's like, I have Reavers back there too. That'll be good. That's too funny.
That was an interesting move, but Bonyth didn't fall for. Oh my gosh! And the Nidus is gonna die, man. No way.
Nidus is gonna fall very quickly there to 2 Reavers, and suddenly it looks like this is all done.
High ground Reaver Storm. I mean, this goes well for Zerg, right?
Yeah, always. This is, I mean, ideal. You know, this is the ideal Zerg fighting grounds. Ooh, Storm on me? Oh, good. I wouldn't want it to be too easy.
Yeah. Oh my god. Well, supplies
man.
have plummeted for Sziky. I mean, it was close a minute ago. Now he's down 50 supply. With Darkstorm, he's got 34 kills. With Darkstorm, he's going to clean the army up. But that was a massive swing. He even saves the Reaver. He's going to save the Archon too?
Yeah, he's going to save that Archon too. And that Templar coming in here. I mean, look at that, man. So much damage being done here from Bonyth. Using the Dark Swarm to his advantage now against the Hydralisk. And it looks like the shuttle even going to get away with its life. Sziky going to need to take bottom left at the same time here and hope he can hold.
He's dead, man. Look at this. Protoss knows that he had a massive swing in his favor, so he breaks across the bridges for the first time all game. And look, that hatchery's going to die. It's not even going to be canceled. He's too busy dealing with the left side, and this looks like it's going to be game over in just a moment. Like, there's technically a counterattack into the main, but he doesn't care about 3 lurkers, 4 lings, and 3 hydras, 1 lurker, and 4 lings. This is, I think,
yeah, this is big damage. All the drones falling at that 4th base. You know, that basically puts Sziky down to barely 2 mining bases at this point. And Bonyth 4th base still just untouched at the moment. Looks like Bonyth able to stabilize his main at the same time. Sziky just continuing to produce more and more lings here, and maybe he's going to try to catch this army in the center or something.
This game's done. It's done. So it's too far along. If it was like, not that you would have this comp at like 14 minutes or 15 minutes, but at this point in the game, all the bases are basically mined out. So you're 0 base Zerg versus 2 base Protoss. Just because of you?
Yeah.
GG, but just because of you, it was a good game. If it was anybody else, not a GG. No GG.
Oh man, looks like Big Bonyth going to take the series with a very convincing 3-0. Man, just getting it done, showing him why he's Big Bonyth. You know, so yeah, he played very well there.
He did play very well. I think that series definitely should not have been a 3-0. Not that Bonyth shouldn't have won the series, but at least there should have been 1 win for Sziky, whether he gets it on here or on Vermeer, because his build looked really good, especially on those 2 maps. But the Reaver Storm, just devastating. Yeah. Like I was mentioning, like I mentioned a couple times, whenever Protoss moved, he shadowed the move. He only went for a counterattack once, right? He didn't even really commit heavily. What I was expecting him to do was, when he had such a big lead, was Protoss moves out of position and immediately counter the 3rd base and kill it or something, and then run. I'm not saying that would have won the game, or maybe that would have been a big mistake, but it's something to think about, because clearly attacking into high ground Reaver Storm just was not gonna work
not
out,
ideal.
You know?
It's never gonna be ideal, man. Yeah, I mean, and we saw, like, it's not like Defiler use wasn't happening from Sziky's end as well, but sometimes even Dark Swarm can create some situations where it's not ideal for Zerg. So yeah, very well done there from Bonyth, man. I mean, as you said, Sziky with at least a couple of those games are very close. I was convinced he had game 3 here at one point. Once he recovered from the 9-7-3, he was in a very strong position. So but yeah, Bonyth just doing Bonyth things and making the big win happen. So well done.
Yep, congrats to him. Of course, unfortunate for Sziky, he will be eliminated in 6th place. So, pretty much doing what he normally does in BSL, which is top 6, top 4, something along those lines.
Yep.
But that means that we are down to 1 Zerg machine. And Xiaoshuai is very good, but facing off versus the remaining opponents, John Hoon, DeWalt, Mihu, and Bonyth, it's going to be a tall order for him tomorrow, regardless of who comes out of our second winner bracket match.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, no matter who it is, either DeWalt or John Hoon, like either of those players are very formidable and definitely going to be a big problem for Zerg vs Protoss matchup. But Zhao Shuai made it this far, because he's pretty good himself, so I'm sure he'll be up for the task.
Yep, so that is it today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, BSL18 could not have happened without our supporters. Our main supporter is, of course, Esports Fund, but a lot of you out there also continue to support the BSL. So we've got to thank our Patreon supporters. At the $100 level, we have My Fleeting Dream, $50 Striker, $30 Tim, Cuz, Tupacalypse, and Voltina Bulai. $20, we've got Scheming Gypsy, Yujong, Medino, Stephen Robertson, Gordon Bradley, KJ Streaming Channel, Daniel Lopez, LML, Nicholas Schuler, and all you other Patreon supporters. Thank you for the continued support of the BSL. And and of course, we've got our massive direct donations, like
Yep.
CRVT consistently donates to every single season of BSL. Bobo, he's, I think, one of the Chinese supporters too. So thank you so much for your support of the BSL. And as I mentioned in all the previous casts, $10 or above, you get all the replays from BSL. So definitely consider becoming a Patreon supporter.
Yep. Thank you all so much.
Yep, and Machine, that is it. You have any final words before we're out of here?
Yeah, just thanks again, Dan, for the commentary, man. Fun as always. Very fortunate to get to commentate such great games with you. Thank you all for tuning in and giving us the viewership and keep continuing to support BSL season after season. And as always, thanks to Big Zero here behind the scene, making the best foreign StarCraft continue to happen season over season.
Yep, thank you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow with John Hoon versus DeWalt. So you definitely don't want to miss that.
Is the name of the dance we do down Johannesburg way.